Hi guys, happy Tuesday. Sorry. You may also say hi.
Hello.
We have a special guest today, obviously. We have the one and only Bachelorette Canada, Jasmine Lorimer.
Hi.
So we are in Whistler today. I am visiting this lovely lady and we are going skiing after this.
Yes, we are.
So it was only natural that I would invite Jasmine to give us her intel, being a former lead herself, on Colton's hometown week. I think that it's incredibly appropriate to have you here with us today.
And I'm happy to join.
All right, so as you guys know, we start off every the morning after with a moment that delivered, and of course this is brought to you by Skip the Dishes, and I'm sure you use Skip the Dishes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they deliver food to your door. It's pretty great. I mean, you don't have to get out of your pajamas. It's a win-win.
It's true.
Yes.
Perfect for lazy people.
Yes.
Like
So this week's moment that delivered for me, I don't know if you have a different one, is Tayshia quizzing Colton on her family members' names and him nailing every single one. And I wrote in my notes, these are Colton's best moments. And for me, it's been easy to lose sight of why Colton was cast as the season's lead. Jasmine will give us her opinion on this in a bit. But it's just been sort of easy to lose sight of what his redeeming qualities are because he has been sort of unraveling so easily, and he's just kind of been a bit of a mess. I described him as a chicken with his head cut off. And so I felt like this was a moment that showed true sincerity on his part and just how seriously he's taking it. It really felt like he had studied up on Tayshia's family members' names. And it just sort of a much needed reminder to me, and probably many of us, that he would still be a great partner at the end of all this, even if he's not necessarily the best bachelor in the world. So that was this week's moment that delivered. Okay, so I think it's worth mentioning, I made Jasmine watch this episode, but she has not been watching this season at all.
No.
And so I thought it'd be great to bring her in and, watching only the hometown week, see if she liked Colton as a lead, untainted by having seen the rest of the season.
Yeah, and so I haven't been very good about watching it, not because I'm deciding not to, but just because I haven't. But I've read a lot about it. So I like to read what people's opinions are.
Yeah.
I just haven't. So I know kind of what the general consensus is out there. I didn't see a lot of depth necessarily.
Okay.
However, one thing that I noticed was that he seemed kind of like a little kid, like in an endearing way at times.
Childlike, in a good way.
And also, when he was talking to the parents, he made unflinching eye contact. Like, when he would ask them, he asked all the fathers if they would give
more on that later.
Permission, okay. But man, like, the way that he would look at them, he'd just be like,
yeah.
Like, never ever.
Apparently Tom Cruise does that when you talk to him.
So, and to me, like, that, I really noticed that, and that was a sign of sincerity, I didn't feel like he was
phoning it in.
Yeah, like, it did, you can't really fake that. I felt like he was very, like, if you were talking to him, you would feel that he was being genuine.
And listening to you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is important.
Okay, I agree with those things, yes. And that's a nice positive spin. I feel like we need a positive spin here on the morning after. Okay, so we're going to go in chronological order as always, and we're going to start off with Caelynn's hometown in Virginia. And Jasmine, I don't know if you know anything about pageants. This is something that how is Miss North Carolina from Virginia? Don't you have to be from the state you represent?
Oh.
I'm sure there's some reason why.
Maybe she was going to university?
Oh, really?
I don't know.
And let me know in the comments. I don't know if this is like common knowledge. It's something I should know. I don't know the answer to that. Okay, and I thought this was a pretty par for the course hometown. My favorite part was when Caelynn, she sat down with her stepdad, John.
Oh my God.
So
I
cute.
have a picture of myself crying that I was going to send you.
Oh.
I don't know if you want to see
Yeah,
it.
you can bring it up if you want. I just think to me, this is what hometowns are all about. They get emotional talking about what they mean to each other. It's more about the connection with your family than it really is about Colton in a way. Oh, that's Jasmine crying. It was really sweet.
Looking like death.
Looking like death.
But I freaking actually had a good cry. He was so sweet.
Yeah, it really was sweet. He was just so moved by the things she had to say. Yeah. And like I said, this just is, to me, what hometowns are all about. You're in this heightened emotional state that when you finally do see your family, you're just like a mess. I'm sure you can attest to that. I actually never had that.
I was just stressed.
Stressed. I wrote in my notes, I slightly regret piecing out before hometowns just because it would have been cool to have that experience.
I thought about that with you. It's like, oh.
What are you
would
gonna
that have
do?
been like for
Coulda,
you?
woulda, shoulda.
Yeah.
Then Caelynn, of course, tells Colton that she's fully in love with him. And last week we saw him say he was falling in love with her, and so we are 1 for 1 so far in Hometowns in terms of him saying he is falling for someone. More on this in a bit. Okay, so Hannah G gets her hometown in Alabama.
Yeah.
I loved this etiquette class thing.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cute.
Yeah, I thought it was hilarious. When I may or may have not rewatched Colton's face while being told how to tear bread.
I know, he was pretty funny.
Yeah, it was really cute.
And he, like, with her, I felt what stood out to me about Hannah's was how giddy he was through the whole thing.
Yeah.
Did you feel like he was just so excited to be around her?
Yeah.
He's
really attracted to her. Their one-on-one date was very hot and heavy.
And understandably so. She's gorgeous.
Yeah, she is gorgeous. Okay, so the evening in terms of hometowns, I'm sorry, it feels kind of like same old, same old. The parents are sort of standard level skeptical, and it feels as though her mother was sort of edited as being even more skeptical than she might have actually been. Mm-hmm. It felt like there was no conflict on this date, and sort of like, so they sort of like edited that up to just throw that in there. To me, anyway.
It was a short date, or short hometown.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, there wasn't like drama, so it's kind of felt like a little skimmed over. Mm-hmm. Hannah G tells Colton she's falling in love with him, and he tells her he's falling in love with her too, and so we're 2 for 2. Moving on, we're at Tayshia's hometown in California, and the skydiving. I loved it.
I was laughing.
I loved it. I rewatched this a couple of times. I thought it was a great like YOLO moment, and I was also
a scream when he jumped out of the
Yes, and it was all like build up, and then they were just like,
yeah.
It was like jazz hands. It was amazing. I loved it. And I also was amazed by how well captured it was.
Yeah, they did a good job.
Yeah, like where were those cameras? Was there someone else? It was just incredible camera work. I was very impressed. Okay, and then after the skydiving, Colton tells Tayshia that he's falling in love with her too. And so that's 3 for 3. And I wrote how very Ari of him, if anyone watched Ari's season. Did you watch that? He told all 4 of his hometown girls that yeah. Okay, so
it's not a lie. You probably at that point are falling.
I just think you gotta keep it together. Because here's the thing: you're sending one of them home. It's like you can't.
But then I guess wouldn't you want them to know how you really felt?
Not if you're gonna rip the rug out from under.
But she has a colder heart than me.
I haven't been there. I haven't been there. Oh, Rocky says, "Are we day drinking over there, ladies?" Maybe. Okay, so then we get a conversation between Tayshia and her dad, and it's easily the realest one, I think, of the entire episode. I love Tayshia's dad and his very real skepticism.
Yeah.
And it goes so much further than is it real? Are your feelings real? And it becomes a greater conversation of how she's been raised, which I really like. It seemed it was more about her being raised to be cautious and to make smart decisions rather than it being Colton being XYZ. Mm-hmm. And so it was really just like a more substantial moment than just being in the context of the show.
True.
Okay, so next we get Cassie's hometown, also in California. Okay, so you may remember in a recap I wrote a couple weeks ago that I said, from what I hear from men, the ultimate combination in a woman is being cute and sexy. Mm-hmm. And Colton said Cassie's the perfect balance of sexy and cute. And I polled Andy on this, and he agreed.
So, that is
apparently that's the magic combination. So, FYI. Uh-huh. So, I mean, it just sort of adds fuel to the fire that, in my opinion, that Colton is absolutely picking Cassie at the end of this. So he does his best to describe his relationship with Cassie here. He says that he did this more so than with any of the other women. Mm-hmm. Like, I felt like instead of just being like, oh, she's amazing, she's incredible, it felt like he really tried to describe what he shares with her in his way.
Do you feel like he was justifying it in some way? Or did you feel like he just was excited?
I think he's so excited about their connection, but it was so sweet. Like, he really tried to describe it if by describing it, you call it indescribable. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? Like, he literally said he couldn't put into words what they shared. He called their connection undeniable and their chemistry unbelievable. It's sad that's the best we've got, but here we are. Okay, so it's seen as a big deal that Cassie's dad hasn't given his blessing.
Yeah.
Did you think this was a big deal?
I mean, I didn't. I felt like he was trying to say it was a big deal to the cameras.
Yeah. Yeah, Colton, you mean?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. But so I wrote, but seriously, let's recap Colton's question.
Also, like, it doesn't feel like Cassie has given him her blessing.
No.
So to me,
In general, it all just feels really premature, which it is because they've known each other for about 7 weeks. Yeah. Maybe 8. So he said to Cassie's dad, if I can... Wait, what did he say? He wanted to know if he could have her hand in marriage if it gets to that point. And the wording of this just blows my mind. Like, who the hell wants to have their blessing asked for in that context? If it gets to that point, if it gets to that point, could I have your blessing? Like, just in case.
Yeah.
I really can't stand that. It just really feels like he's just gathering up his fatherly blessings in case he needs them.
Yeah.
Like, for a rainy day. I really can't stand that. It's like, just wait, decide who you're going to propose to, and then, like, FaceTime the dad or something if that's something you really need.
That is true.
Yeah, it just takes away any of the personal touch.
Yeah. But do you feel like he was being coached to, or instructed to?
Absolutely. Very likely. Although he has stressed a lot that that's something he needs. He's a traditional man.
Right.
I know, I'm being harsh. It's because I've had to do the whole season of this. You just joined.
I know.
Okay. So we get to the rose ceremony. What really bugs me about this farewell is that, to Caelynn, is that Colton never really said anything.
Yeah.
He kind of was just like, in fact, he even said, I don't know what to say.
I know, he did seem a little cold. I felt sad for her.
Yeah, me too. It's just, if you get to that point, you would think, you know, even just the requisite, I'm sorry I couldn't see it, I really like you, but.
And it hurts when she's saying, like, I felt all these things and I really felt like you felt them too, and he's just like,
yeah.
It's like, yeah, but you should probably say, oh, those feelings were
real. Or
you're not imagining it, however.
Yeah. I know an explanation at that point isn't necessary. It's probably not going to help things, but I think it's a courtesy.
I agree.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, say something. It shouldn't be up to her to do all the talking.
No. And it seems like it should be difficult not to be giving explanations at that point.
Thank you. We heard it from a lead herself. You should be tripping over yourself to give explanations.
Yeah.
Yes. But that's also very Canadian of you, maybe.
Maybe. That could be.
All right. That is. Do you have anything else to add? I feel like I was like, blah, 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 blah.
No, you know what? You covered all the things that I thought of. I really like, my highlights was John. And God, I just love that moment so much.
Yeah.
And I did appreciate Colton's like direct.
Yeah.
I guess it's just eye contact, but to me it felt like something more.
I did cover that in my Flair recap, where I think he showed the best side of himself in this week versus other weeks, where he does have the time to spend an entire day with a woman and be a boyfriend and be the boyfriend who meets the parents. Like, he really is good in that situation. And
if people are saying he's immature, I feel like that's where the maturity shows.
Yes. Positive spin. All right, you guys, thank you so much. We're going to go hit the slopes. Thank you for tuning into the morning after. Be sure to read my Flair recap, which is out now. My Pretty Pandas recap will come out later this week, somehow. And yeah, thank you for tuning in.
Bye. Bye.